here. Alright, this picture was taken with a Sony A7R. ISO is 5000. Exposure to real long at 37 seconds. Alrighty, the first thing I usually do is go all the way down in Lightroom to calibration and change from Adobe Standard to Camera Landscape. We'll kind of darken it up and give them just a little bit more punch. Alrighty, now next thing I usually do is do the white balance. So let's see here, I have a ton of presets, but to make it a little bit more interesting, I will do it manually. Let's see here, I bump up my exposure just a little bit. Then I go down to vibrance, bring it all the way to 100, and saturation all the way to 100. Alright, looks kind of funky and kind of psychedelic, but this will all play into it. Alright, I will take and zoom in to 100%. And then I'll move my temperature slider till I start seeing kind of an even orange, yellow, blue, purple, about right there. Alright, now I'll go back and reset everything, vibrance and saturation, exposure back to 0. Alright, now I'll give you pretty much dark sky, almost black. I might go down just a hair more. Let's see. Not way too much. See, that's what happens when you overdo it. One step at a time here. I always try to stay toward the blue. I know some people, they'll do it. I mean, you can do automatic, daylight. It comes out a yellowish brown, which is nasty. Alright, cloudy. Sometimes cloudy, you can get away with it, but just too clear. Shade don't even touch. Tungsten, sometimes it's way too blue. So I will just take it. Went the wrong way. Hit the wrong button. Let's see here. Let's go back up just a couple more. 3350. Alright, on tint, I'll go a little bit to the magenta side. Okay. That looks pretty good. Alright, next thing I do is I will come down to lens corrections. Alright, well, this right here is a manual lens. So what I will do, I will come down and do Sony E mount, and then I will find, let's see here, 16f2.8. Now this right here was done on a 6.5 millimeter Optica fisheye, so there's going to be a pretty good bit amount of distortion. So I mean, it's more than that right there, even take out. So I'll just leave it like that. Alright, color. Alright, do your defringing, remove chromatic aberration. Alright, what that does, it takes kind of the blue around the stars. You take your blue and you pull it to your right into the brown, it pretty much disappears. If you start getting if you go too much, you will get stars that turn brown-ish. Sometimes it's really bad. So let me come back down to about 4. Yeah. Alright. Now let's go up here. grab a gradient filter. I want to do exposure. I want to pull up. Pull up to about right there. Alright, what I want to do is bring the exposure down just a wee bit. And on my temperature, I want to bring it to the blue side, -12. That'll help with some of the weird light pollution. Okay, highlights, I'll bring them down just a hair. About 23. Shadows, I will bump just a hair. Set about 10. Clarity, I won't touch that. Saturation, I will desaturate just a little bit. All this is just a taste. Sharpen a little bit. Denoise just a little bit. Don't want to go too far on sharpening and denoise because it'll make it all muddied up and look bad. Okay. Now, let's see here. Let's bring our highlights down and work them back up. Alright, shadows down. New whites. Up a pretty good piece. Plus 38. Blacks. Let's see here, I'm getting. Let's see here. Okay. Go down with those, -14. Now clarity, you want to be careful with this. This right here will make it or break it. Usually stay between 7 and 13. Because the more clarity you put in, the more noise you want to put in. I'm going to undo something right quick. This gradient filter. I want to get rid of that because I want to come in with my HSL. Stay on the luminance tab, and you click your little bullseye, and then you put it over the color you want. You hold the tab, and then you bring it down. And everything in the blue spectrum of it. On this one right here, it's yellow and orange. Alright, now we can go into the saturation and do the same thing, and it'll desaturate just the yellows and the orange, and it will take out a lot of the, there we go, a lot better. Okay, now we got that done. Go down to sharpening. I tend to bring it all the way to 0. Just de-sharpen altogether. Because, I mean, you really don't need it. Maybe about 4. Alright, noise reduction. This, you need to stay on the side of 20. Don't go past. But if you go past 20, it's just like, I don't know, real psychedelic. So, always stay 20 or less. You will still have some grain in there, just a little bit of noise, but it's not too bad. It's manageable. Alrighty. Let's see here. Now, let's go get us a brush. Still with the exposure. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit so I can see where I'm going. Alright, paint in the Milky Way. Just like that. Alright, now drop your exposure back to 0. Come down to clarity. Bump it just a little bit. 20 works fine. Alright, highlights, bring it down just a hair. Your shadows up just a little bit. Alright, contrast, bring it up just a little bit. Cool. Alright, saturation up just a hair to sharpen this up. That's the reason why I said don't sharpen anything yet, because we're going to sharpen the Milky Way separate. And then if you put a gradient or a brush over the Milky Way, it makes it just twice as bad. Defringe just a little bit, denoise just a little bit, and we are done with that. Now, not too bad. Alright, I'm getting a lot of light pollution on the right side here. So what I want to do is grab me another gradient filter, keep it on exposure, bump it up just a little bit so you can see what's going on, and kind of drag to about there, and then bring to where the gradient just starts to hit the Milky Way. Alright, bring your exposure back to 0, and take your highlights and bring them down just a hair. And that'll take care of some of the right hand glow. Alrighty. And something I always do, I can come in and paint the dust lanes a little darker. Let's see here, grab my brush, bring it size down just a little bit. Right exposure. Come in here, paint these in. What I'm doing, I'm not adding, I'm just enhancing. This is, to me, a lot better workflow than Photoshop. But I mean, you can do pretty much the same thing. It's just when you say, I use Photoshop on that Milky Way, first thing everybody thinks is fake. I don't know why. Photoshop's a good tool for astrophotography. Alright. Too much. Bring back 0. Alright, what I want to do here now, I got that part, bring my shadows down just a little bit. Too much. Like I say, baby steps. There we go. Okay. Done on that. Back out. You can see how that turned out right there. You can pick up the dust lanes a whole lot better. And all it is just playing with the amount of light. That's my whole workflow. I do very little stretching and pulling. Alright, now in the nebulosities right here, in the center of the galactic core, I will take and use a brush and paint them. Always have your exposure set a little bit high or low. That way you know which way you're going and you can tell where you're at. Alright, with this, I always take my temp and set it to the blue on the brush. Just like that. Then over my highlights, I will bring my highlights. Keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. Alright, back to my brush, go to highlights, and always bring them up just one, just enough to get the blue to stand out. Maybe not too much on that one. So, go back to my brush. Always check. Highlights here, we'll bring those back down. Alright, since that won't work, go to my shadows and bring it down. Down. Alright, now just get, just get it to stand out. Maybe I need to go and redo my temp. It's all trial and error. There's no two. Let's bring this back to the warmer side. 16 to 14. Now let's try it. Nope. See, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So go back to my brush. Zero shadows out. just a little bit more bluer than the rest. Let's see here. Yeah. Alright. See how it stands out just a wee bit. It's not too much of an extreme contrast. Alrighty. Now, I'd say dust lane's pretty good in this shot. Really don't have to work too much on them. Yeah. Okay. Now for the foreground, which this right here is just not optimal. Somebody wouldn't turn their dang headlights off, and this is just how it wound up. One of them nights. One of them nights. Alrighty. Let's see here. Alright, go up here and grab you a gradient filter. Exposure high, just the way you know where you're going. Yeah, it's not gonna work. So we go through the process anyway. Have your exposure, bring it up. Okay, come in, bring your highlights down. That'll get rid of a lot of the brightness in the trees right there. Bring your shadows up just a little bit, because it's going to introduce a lot of noise. Clarity, always bring it down, because it brings in a lot of noise. Sharpness, bring it up a little bit. As before, more noise. And then your noise reduction, you bring it up as high as you want. On this photo right here, it's not optimal. Okay, and done there. And we are almost done with this. Let's go around. Anything else that I need to do? I want to change my overall white balance. I want to go just a little bit more. Let's take some magenta out of it. To me, it's just a little blue. Right there. 10 plus 4. Okay. That is pretty much it. I don't do no curve adjustment. That I've never really done a curve adjustment. I mean, it can be done. A lot of people do it. To me, it puts just way too much contrast in. You can do the medium contrast curves, and it's like fruit salad. And you can do a strong one, and it's just like even worse. So, just a linear, even, and reset. I very seldom do curves in Lightroom. It's a good, powerful tool, but to me, I usually just highlights and shadows. That's the main focus for me. Let's do a little bit of inspection on the noise on the fringe outside edges. Let's go back down. Let's do just a little bit more noise. Do just a little bit on the contrast on the noise reduction. Color noise, we'll bring it all the way up. See what it does. Now, all the pleasures of shooting at ISO 5000. Noise, 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 noise. Yeah. That's way too much right there. Bring that back down. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now. There's certain things that also I like to do. That's final touch up. Go to HSL and my luminance. Let's go back in. You can pick, a certain color, hold it down, and you can raise the luminance a little bit to get it to stand out. And HSL will cover everything, in every color range. So if you have some oranges, although this will affect the light pollution. All I'm getting is blues. Okay, so that's good. Try here. Still blue. Yeah, I don't get no yellows till I get down to light pollution. So that I will not touch. Alrighty. Alright. I have all kind of presets for this. That picture right there is pretty much done. But if you ever start doing this and you like the outcome of some certain settings, always save it. Make a preset. Always. I have presets for everything. I mean, just on and on and on and on. I have presets for the white balance that pretty much take care of the whole setting it up and everything. You don't have to go through the increasing the exposure or saturation or vibrance. Let me reset and go back to 0. Alright, let's go here. Okay, see, I have presets for white balance. Alright, dark sky, like this photo was taken under, just click it and then it'll change it to pretty much dark sky. Moonlit, if you got a little bit of moon, you know, it'll cover that area. But made 2 for the saturation and vibrance lift to find the white balance. So all I do is one click, zoom in, get my yellows and oranges and blues all in sync, about right there. It's going to be a little bit on the yellow side. Alright, then my saturation and everything off. One click. And back to normal. Alright. Milky Way. You know, like I said, presets. That way you only have to do it one time. So I have a preset for Milky Way. It pretty much does that. Although it don't work good on this one just because of conditions. Go back to dark sky, white balance. But there's some I have for reducing light noise. It takes, or noise pollution, or light pollution. It takes a lot of the yellow out. So, but it's pretty simple. And reduce light pollution and add contrast. You know, that's pretty much where we was at just, previously. Let's see here. And also, you can, see here, do gradients too, and brushes. Just bring up a gradient filter. Say you want to do one for clouds. Alright, don't touch exposure. Contrast up, highlights down, shadows up, clarity wide open. Saturation just a little bit, sharpness up a little bit, and noise. Alright, then drag and drop. That's all you do. And voila. Instant Milky Way. Although it's not the greatest due to ISO 5000, it's going to be noisy as all get out. But that way you can do it. And you can also save these as presets. Save it as brushes, whatnot. Come down, save current setting, the new brush. See, I have a ton. I even have one for light pollution. It's just a drag and drop, pretty much. Drag it up to the horizon, and it takes care of the light pollution. See, just 5 or 6 little clicks, I'm back to where I was at the beginning. So it's really not hard processing or post-processing Milky Way. Just getting all your buttons right. That's all you have to do. And let's see here. I just noticed something. I did all that without even touching my tonal curve or anything. That's all still zeroed out. So I can play some more. Bring down the highlights a little bit. And that'll take care of some of the noise right there. Let's go back down. Camera calibration. The chromatic aberrations. Bring up my defringe on the blue side. Get rid of the blue halo. Alright. Oh, forgot to do calibration, landscape. That's going to make it a little bit more punchier. But yes, let's see here. The night I took this picture, which was last night, there was a lot of humidity in the air. We had a few random thunderstorms that lingered around till after dark, and this was just after what was the time on this? 12:17 this morning. So there was still quite a bit of humidity in the air. Humidity was like 74%. So yeah, it's not optimal, but it can be done. I mean, even here in Georgia, it can be done. Some people think you got to be out west and middle of nowhere. No, this right here was taken at Fort Mountain State Park. Looking south, I guess this area right here would be around the Cartersville area, and all this right here is the North Metro Atlanta area: Kennesaw, Ackworth, Marietta, Canton, this area. So yeah, you don't have to go far in Georgia to take pictures like this. Just the way. But yeah, it can be done. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and good night.